September 18th. That's how far I made it this year before I finally got sick. So I took my first official sick day this week on Tuesday because I had a fever over 100 degrees and I honestly felt so miserable that I just couldn't go to work. So I did take a sick day, even though I absolutely hate to do that because honestly, as a teacher, I would much rather just go to school and deal with it than having to write subplans because it's such a big pain in the butt and it takes so much time. So because I had to take a sick day, I decided that for this video, I would talk to you guys a little bit about how I prepare for a substitute. In my 20 tips for new teachers video, I mentioned that I highly suggest having emergency subplans ready. My school actually requires teachers to have 2 days of emergency subplans stored up in the office. So actually, while I was home on Tuesday sick, I spent the day getting all of those ready to turn in. So I actually turned mine in this week, so I can't show it to you guys, but I am going to show you guys the substitute binder that I use in my classroom. So this is the binder that I keep in my room, and this has all of my classroom information that the substitute might need. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you everything in the substitute binder. Now it is in my TPT store. I will put a link to it down in the description for you. It's completely editable, so you can make it work for your classroom. Also, I wanted to mention that my substitute binder does not include the actual lesson plans. It's just all the informational pages and procedure pages for the actual binder. So if you're looking for like emergency subplans because you woke up really early in the morning and you're sick and you don't have time to write them, I recommend going to TPT. There are a ton of them on there. Personally, I don't have any up at this point. I do hope to get some up in the future, but I really want to take my time to develop good lesson plans that would be used in a variety of classrooms, so I don't want to rush it. So for right now, I don't have any in my store, but if you're looking for some, there are tons of them on TPT. So this is the cover of my binder, and like I said, it is editable, so you're able to put your own name on it. Now these words and this graphic down here are not editable, but you are able to put your own name up at the top. So in the front pocket of my binder, I do like to keep a couple copies of this notes page. I always like to get feedback from my substitutes. So this is just a quick and easy form that they can fill out with who was well behaved, who was not well behaved, any visitors that stopped by, any phone calls, and then there's room for them to jot down notes about the day. So the first page of my binder is this welcome letter. This is where I thank the substitute and make sure they know how much I appreciate how hard they work. And this is also where I tell the substitute to please fill out one of those papers before they leave for the day. The second page is where I put all the contact information for different people in my school. Now this is not my real contact information. I did change some of these pages out so that no personal information was shared, but this is just a quick page where it has pretty much all the contact information they would need. I have the principal and vice principal, the nurse and custodian, all my team teachers, all the different specials, and then anyone else. I personally put special education there, and then I give them quick directions on how to use the phone. The next page is where I put my schedules. I do have my regular schedule. Now, personally, my school uses a 6-day cycle, so my page actually looks a little bit different. This is just kind of a sample, but I also include schedules for half day and for any delays, because we personally have either 1 or 2 hour fog delays. So I do like to include the different schedules because you never know when you might be absent and what could happen on that day. The next page just has quick information on taking attendance, and then I do put my student roster here. Again, these are not my students, this is just a sample page. The next page is just a seating chart, and I do make sure that whenever I change student seats, I do update this in my substitute binder. And down at the bottom, I just put a little bit of information. My students personally sit at tables rather than desks, but I do give the substitute permission to move anyone to the back table if they're having trouble behaving. The next 2 pages are where I put all my student information. So this is where I include any allergies, any medications, or anything else that the substitute might need to know. I personally organize mine by boys, and then I have a different page for all of my ladies. I also include another student information page where I list helpful students that would be able to assist the substitute if needed. I also make a list of challenging students that the substitute will probably need to keep their eye on. And then I do list students with special needs and just kind of give the substitutes a couple tips and tricks that work for them. Then I do have a page on support personnel, so any assistants or paraprofessionals that are in my room, I give them a little bit of information on what they will be doing in the classroom. The next page has the arrival procedures, and it lets the substitute know what the student should be doing in the morning. And then I do have dismissal procedures as well, so they know how the afternoon should go. Now, my students actually eat breakfast in the classroom, so I do include a page on directions for breakfast and how that usually goes, and then how to handle the trash after the students are done with their breakfast. Then I have a page for lunch and recess, so I go quickly over lunch procedures, and then I do have information for outdoor recess and indoor recess procedures, so that way if the weather is bad and they have to be indoors, the substitute still knows how that should go. So the next page is on emergency procedures, so fire drill, lockdown, and my school doesn't actually do tornado drills, but I know that some schools do, so I do include that on there. But like I said, this is fully editable, so if you don't need that part, you can certainly have it off of there. The next page is on some classroom procedures, so I did include some attention getters that my class is familiar with. I go over some of the hand signals that my students use. I go over bathroom procedures for our class and drink procedures as well. Then I do have a page on behavior expectations. I go over all the school rules, my personal classroom rules, and then I do go over my behavior management. I personally use a clip chart and I use Class Dojo, and I always make sure that in my actual sub plans I leave a note to make sure that the substitute does use my clip chart. So then I do have a page where I go over the location of materials in my room in case the substitute needs them. So I do include information about general office supplies, paper, any daily supplies that the students use, and any other materials that they might possibly need. Then I do include student dismissal lists, so that way in case any students forget how they go home or the substitute isn't sure, they're able to verify it on here. I also wanted to let you guys know that I did get an Amazon store, so I've put the link down in the description of this video plus all of my other videos. A lot of people have been asking me where I've gotten things, and almost always the answer is Amazon. So if you're curious what things I'm using in my classroom, you can go to the store. Over on the side you'll see there's some categories. Once you get there, I have all the organizational stuff that I use in my classroom. A lot of it I showed you in my classroom tour video. I also have all the lamination, all the paper that I use, and I'm still adding items to it. So if you are wondering where I got something for my classroom, go to my Amazon store. You can order it right from there. So again, thank you so much for watching my videos and liking them and commenting. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and I will see you guys next weekend.